You can travel for back in time here. A secret place. Where shall we go today? The Man Enslaved by Gold. A life without a name. The man's name is never spoken to the end. He was born in a poor village surrounded by mountains, where he lived with his aging mother, clinging to life as if by a thread. Spring came late, summer was short, and winter was long. The fields were barren, and soil mixed with stones repelled the hoe, and seeds rarely sprouted even when sown. Hunting yielded little, hunger was ordinary, and the cold clung constantly to his body. Everyone in the village was poor, but his home was poorer still. The roof sagged, the walls were riddled with gaps, and in winter the icy wind crept in without mercy. At night, when the hearth fire died, darkness and cold arrived together, and sleep was shallow. The man did not complain. He did not speak of hope. Each morning he rose, split firewood, tilled the fields, set traps, and sometimes entered the mountains in pursuit of beasts. He earned a few coins, gained a little grain, and survived the day. That was all. He had neither dreams nor despair, only poverty. It was as natural as the air, unquestioned. His mother often said, "When people grow used to having nothing, they stop wishing for more." The man believed her words. Perhaps believing was how he preserved his heart. And yet, he was aware of a small hollow deep within his chest, something he could not name. Lost in the mountains, drawn by light. The turning point came on a late autumn day. Carrying the scent of approaching snow, a cold wind blew as the man followed deer into the mountains with other young villagers. The animal fled unnaturally deep into the range, and before he realized it, the voices and figures of his companions had vanished. Alone, he wandered into the heart of the mountains. The trees grew shorter, bare rock emerged, and the sky darkened rapidly. No familiar landmark remained. Panic tightened his chest. Then, suddenly, a light flickered at the edge of his vision. It was not the reflection of the setting sun. From within the rock, a pulsing golden glow seeped out. He stopped. His heart stirred with unease. In the village, it was said that things which shone in the depths of the mountains were either divine, or cursed. Still, he approached. Living gold. Reaching into the crevice, his hand touched a vein of gold. It was no ordinary metal. It glowed softly like a living thing, warm to the touch, beating faintly against his fingertips like a pulse. Living gold. He would later call it that, but in that moment, he thought only that it was a miracle. He scraped away just a small handful. Taking more frightened him, and he truly believed this was enough. When he returned to the village, his life changed. The gold fetched an astonishing price in the town below the mountain. His crumbling house was repaired, firewood and food for winter were secured, and medicine eased his mother's cough. Warm meals returned to the table, and for the first time, the man knew what it meant to feel full. The villagers smiled at him and offered congratulations. Luck has finally turned your way. You must be loved by the mountain god. The man laughed shyly and spoke little of where the gold came from. He felt that if he spoke too much, it would all shatter. The whisper. But at night, a small whisper was born within his chest. Just a little more. At first, he dismissed it as imagination. Yet each time he lay down in a warm house with a satisfied stomach, the whisper grew stronger. A little more would make life easier. With enough, you'd never have to worry again. The man returned to the mountains. Each time he dug, second, third, and more, his life grew richer. He abandoned the fields, hired others for hard labor, and became a known figure in town. His clothes improved, his meals grew lavish. And still, the hollow inside him remained unfilled. Abundance without fulfillment. His conversations with villagers dwindled. The looks of those who once laughed with him in shared poverty shifted, from envy, to jealousy, and finally to suspicion. Rumors whispered behind his back, and smiles became thin masks. Sleep abandoned him. When he closed his eyes, the golden vein appeared in his dreams, pulsing, urging him to dig more, to want more. Even after waking, the beating echoed in his ears, accusing him in the silence. The gold was no mere metal. It was a mirror that reflected human desire, and a curse that summoned and amplified it. What was lost? In time, his mother died. No amount of medicine or warmth could hold her life in place. On the day of her funeral, gripping a pouch of gold, the man realized for the first time how empty its weight truly was. Before grief came fear. If he lost anything more, what would he become? Without gold, was he nothing at all? Even so, he could not stop digging. To stop felt like losing everything. The fear of returning to poverty only deepened his thirst for gold. The man enslaved by gold. One night, the man ventured into the deepest part of the mountain range. A light stronger and more dazzling than before called to him. The air was heavy, the rocks damp, and the mountain itself seemed to breathe. There, he heard a voice. Neither clearly old nor young. Like wind, or the grinding of stone. Was it gold that you desired? Or the illusion of being fulfilled? It was the voice of a witch. Though unseen, it felt as if the mountain itself were her form, her voice echoing directly within him as the gold pulsed. In that moment, the man understood. Surrounded by gold, his heart was empty, unconnected to anyone, becoming nothing. That, he realized, was true poverty. The next morning, the villagers did not see him again. They say that deep in the mountains, the exhausted vein of gold had grown dark and dull, as though it had consumed every trace of human desire. The man enslaved by gold. Life as a reprieve. The man did not die. It was not a blessing, but a reprieve. He was found 3 days after collapsing in the deepest part of the mountains. Half submerged in snowmelt along a stream at the edge of the village, he was barely alive. His face was gaunt, his lips turned purple, and his fingertips were stained with gold dust and blood. The villagers gasped at the sight. The man who should have been swallowed by the mountain had returned. Some whispered that it was a miracle, others said the mountain had spat him out. But the man himself understood, that the mountain had not freed him, it had merely not let go yet. Memories of gold. Recovery took a long time. His body healed, but his heart remained wounded. Whenever he closed his eyes, that golden light throbbed before him. The veins of gold deep in the rock pulsed like a heartbeat, pressing silently, a dig. he awoke repeatedly in the night, wiping the cold sweat from his body. Eventually, the mountain range officially became his. It was both an inheritance and a curse. As studies progressed, it became clear that the mountain contained an unimaginably vast gold vein. No matter how much he mined, it never ran out. Even shallow digs revealed more gold. People marveled, and desired it. Refusal and compromise. At first, he refused to mine. He sealed the entrances and forbade entry. But refusal rippled outward. Why keep it sleeping? The mountain's wealth is meant to save people. Do you intend to hoard it all for yourself? Words cloaked in goodwill and blatant greed alike were directed at him. Those who possess gold cannot remain silent. Simply existing demands an answer. Eventually, he compromised. Limited mining. Controlled distribution. He told himself this as he reopened the mountain. Shadows of praise. Gold changed the town. Roads were paved, merchants gathered, and mansions were built. People praised him. Guardian of gold. The chosen one. But the admiration did not last. People gradually began to fear him. No one knew the true extent of his wealth. Rumors grew, casting shadows larger than the truth. Friends kept their distance. Conversations became cautious, silence increased, and jokes disappeared. Everyone saw the gold behind him. The lonely house. He was aware, yet could not stop. He continued to choose gold over friendship, gold over trust, the weight of metal over the voices of men. For if he stopped, he feared he would be empty. The mansion grew year by year. Walls thickened, doors became heavier, windows decreased. Guards multiplied, and lights never went out at night. Yet there was no peace. He felt the weight of gold moaning beneath the floors. By the time he realized it, the mansion was vast, yet his heart felt as confined as a cell. The night it was taken. One night, he dreamed. A great hall, empty of people. Only gold piled like mountains, casting a cold light. The glow was dazzling, yet it offered no warmth. That night, he awoke to a sound that tore through the darkness. Screams. The flash of blades. Thieves had come, seeking the gold, seeking to take life itself. The guards were breached, and chaos engulfed the mansion. As he fled, he realized something clearly. Gold draws people, but it does not protect them. The weight that remains. Blades approached, and he braced for death. Then, unexpectedly, a voice tore through the night. It was his old companions, those who had left before. Those who had shared poverty, sat around the same fires, laughed without possessions. Those who had turned away from gold and distanced themselves from him. They returned. Not for the gold. Not for the mansion. Because they could not abandon the man himself. The battle was fierce. Blood flowed, screams echoed, and the night seemed endless. The thieves were repelled, but the cost was immense. He collapsed to the floor, gravely wounded. Darkness crept into his vision, and sound faded. Yet he could hear the cries of his companions. Not anger, not regret, but desperate voices refusing to lose him. In that moment, he finally understood. Gold had protected nothing. Wealth, power, and solitude could not heal him. But people had treated him as human until the very end. On the brink of death, he spoke in a hoarse voice. If people could love one another more than gold, that bond would become more precious and cherished than anything else. The sun rose, and the gold gleamed quietly. Yet its light no longer reached his eyes. Later, people spoke of it. The mountain of gold remained. Yet the man who had been enslaved by it was gone. The mountain became quieter than before, as if the weight of human desire had finally been set down. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Happiness for all viewers.